Hey everyone, Siam here. So thanks for everyone's feedback on the video I put out yesterday, which was the renting versus buying video. And I've put it all over the place, but here's just the one on my my profile. And there's been some very valid comments, etc. However, there's one key thing, in fact, the most important thing, which I forgot to explain simply because I was worried that the video is going on too long anyway, and that is opportunity cost in my perspective, so to speak, as in what I'm personally losing out if I were to buy a house right now. So let's talk about that then. There's some good points, etc. And the thing which I really wanted to stress is what I said in this video. In fact, I can just get the actual thing out. The most important thing is that there is no correct answer. There's it's whatever is relevant to you, and that's the most important thing. So I want to really touch on this opportunity cost thing because I didn't do it enough service, so to speak. So the way I looked at things a long time ago is that I wanted to get from where I was to all the way over here, and I basically went from broke, and the goal was to have a £12 million net worth. Now I'm not going to go into the reasons why 12 mil, but that is the goal. And so the plan was get to 12 mil net worth, then buy your big forever home between sort of £2 to £3 million is what I wanted, and then live in that forever. Okay, and that's where I'd have my grass runway and all the silly things, etc. My solar panels, vertical farms, all that sort of stuff in the land. So that is the goal. And so when I was looking at this from a 30,000 foot view, I was thinking, what is the straight line approach? What is the most efficient way to get over there? And that is all I've done. I've literally, as I mentioned the other day, I was simply looking at all sorts of different assets and stuff, and I was like, okay, what is the best vehicle to effectively get me there? And this is a very fast car, by the way. And I was like, okay, what is the best vehicle to get me over here? Because I could by the way, I'm not slagging anything off. I'm just saying things like, as I mentioned, if I was an alien looking at the whole landscape, what is the best way? So, for example, if I got a job, like let's say I stayed in the Air Force, the job would have been the equivalent of a bicycle. I can't draw bicycles, but that's something like a bicycle. So, in fact, I don't think a bicycle or the job would ever get me to a 12 mil net worth, especially if I stayed in the Air Force. So that is why I left the Air Force prematurely, because I was like, well, I've got to get out of here. It's completely incongruent to what I want to do. So job, no. And then I looked at all sorts of other stuff and property and all that, and I realized business was the only way. Business can be that car. Now, not all businesses are equal. You can have, bicycle-like businesses, which just, are useless. So that's why I then went head into, business and mergers and acquisitions, all that sort of stuff. I wanted to identify what was the freaking Tesla Model S, plaid version, and then get good at business. And then I quickly learned how to fail lots and lots. And so this is the straight line approach for me. And I straight away, I mean, don't forget, I've been with Ellie, my wife, for 12 years, and Ellie has been wanting to buy a house for about 12 years. Literally every year I'm fighting with my own wife. She's like, let's buy, I want to settle down. I'm like, nope. But the reason why was because if I bought a house back over here, let's say when we were first starting out, I remember we did actually look at I think it was like a 200 grand flat or a bungalow or whatever, and I worked out I needed 20 grand deposit and all sorts of fees and whatever, and I was like, 30 grand, honey. I think it was like 30 grand, and I was like, we need to literally spunk 30 grand on this house for a house which we don't want to stay in for a long period. And I mean, we were living in Leicester at that point. I was like, and plus I don't really want to live in Leicester. And instead, I was like, that 30 grand can go into a business or 2 or 3 or whatever. And that's what we did. I simply used the money, or in fact, we didn't even have the 30 grand back then. But whatever spare cash that we did, I just plowed it all into the businesses, whatever the businesses were. So the thing that I think is very important is this one here. So Kirsty has said, one thing that's always confused me, Siam, is why you aren't a cash buyer. You're throwing money away in both scenarios above. Yeah, I completely agree. And this is the reason why. Because the house I want to buy is £2.5 million, and I'm not rich enough yet where £2.5 million is loose change and the opportunity cost won't hurt me. Logically, the fastest route to your forever home is to achieve your desired net worth, then get it. But in the meantime, all the capital I have is going into increasing my cash flowing assets. Basically, every 100 grand I have, I can turn that into between 10 to 120k per month recurring income. So plonking money and fees and a deposit literally cost me a 10 to 20k per month in lost income, per 100k. And then obviously a few more comments. So I thought I'd explain that bit. So I guess this whole presentation is not really about a house. It's more about how the hell, why does opportunity cost really hurt me? And it's basically how I deploy stuff into a business. And unfortunately, the thing that I really didn't want to get into was online marketing. I mean, it has such a bad press because there are so many freaking scammers out there. But if you are in business, you 100% need to, at the very least, have an understanding of online marketing. And so I'm not going to use any of my businesses as, I may. I'll come back to it. So let's just come up with a random business, okay? And this is why. So again, a long time ago, I was like, right, what sort of business do I want? I want something with a recurring revenue stream, because when you sell a business, the industry average is you get 3 times EBITDA. So 3 times earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. In fact, I call it EBITDAC and coronavirus, and COVID. But when you have a recurring revenue stream or business, then it's very easy to get like 5 times or 5 to 10 times earnings. So this is what I was doing. So let's say I wanted to sell a business for £12 million. Well, let's be really conservative here. Let's say I had a recurring revenue business, etc., and I was going to get 5 times EBITDAC. Well, what this means, if I put 12 million in my calculator, sorry, let's do it on the computer so you can actually see what I'm typing. Where's my calculator? Over here. So 12, 3, 1, 2, 3. Divide that by 5. Cool. Rightio. Well, all I then need is a business that chucks out £2.4 million EBITDA. EBITDA. Let's just call it EBITDA. So for those who are not familiar with business, let's just profit. Okay, it's basically profit. So how do I then get a business that makes £2.4 million per year? And so then it all comes down to what's type of business, whether you're doing B2C, B2B, blah, blah, blah. But let's have a really simple model, okay? Really simple. So let's say you have a funnel where you're driving traffic to your landing pages, sales pages, etc., and you have a trial, okay? And then after the trial, you have product A, and then product B. Okay, very simple sort of a funnel, so to speak. So that is your business if you were to map out its product architecture. And in fact, okay, so what you then do, let's just say your trial is, I don't know, hell, it could be £1, okay, or it could be free, it doesn't really matter. And then let's say your product is, I don't know, say £30 per month, so something really cheap. And then your product B would be something like, I don't know, £500 per month. So very simple model. There's all sorts of businesses similar in structure, I guess. And then you have to work out your conversion rate. So obviously you're going to drive traffic and see how many, what your conversion rates are. But let's just do ballpark. Let's say your CPC, your cost per click, is £1, okay? It's very easy to get a £1 click. I mean, depending what industry you're doing, etc. And so you're going to drive all sorts of clicks to your sales page to get people to sign up for a trial. But then you need to work out what is your conversion rate over here. So let's be really pessimistic. So for those that are doing a 1 month or 2 month trial or whatever, let's say 20%. No, let's be even more pessimistic. Let's just say it's 10% that do product A, and then of those that do product A, they'll then ascend and do, let's say another 10% of them do product B. So let's just let's just put some random numbers in. So let's say, for example, I wanted 10 people down here at product B. So in order to get 10 down here, what you then need to do to work out how many in product A you need is you do 10, divide that by 10%, so 0.1, 100. I mean, you could have worked that in your head, but I prefer doing a calculator. So you need 100 people over here. So in order to get 100 people over here, how many trialers do you need? Okay, then divide that by 0.1 again. I'm being very pessimistic with my numbers here, by the way. So what this means is, in order to get your 10 product B people down here and 100 product A, you need 1,000 trialers. Now, how much is that going to cost you? So what is your conversion rate over here? Now let's be really pessimistic. Let's say you're so the key thing here is your CPL. What is your cost per lead? And a lead here is a trial. So let's say it's going to cost you something like let's say it's really shit. Let's say it costs you 20 quid to get a £1 trialer. So what this means, so if your CPL is 20 quid to get just a £1 trialer, well, 1,000 of them, that's going to cost you 20 grand in marketing. Okay? So then you just do some numbers. So that's your marketing costs, but how much are you making? So you've got £1,000 from the trialers. This is all revenue, of course. Then you have £30 a month times 100. So this is 3 grand a month in revenue over here. And then you've got 500 times 10. Then you've got 5 grand a month per month. So let's just say that trial income comes off your here. So really, you're 19 grand in marketing, because you're just going to put that back in. And what you're left with is a revenue stream of £8,000 per month. Okay, so what this means is that your 8 grand a month now equals 96k per year in revenue. Right. Now let's assume that you have a net margin of like, I don't know, 70%. Because if it's like an info product thing, you're going to be left with 67. Let's just call it. Let's be worst case, ballpark, being pessimistic, 65k profit. Okay. So what this effectively means is that you've effectively played with you've turned £19,000 into £65,000, which is a net return, if I just do it, 19 divided by 65 times 100. Sorry, 65 minus 19 divided by 19 times 100. Yeah, so that's a 242% ROI growth there. But that's the thing, when you have a funnel like this that works, and it is positively converting like that, you don't just do one campaign. You do this every month. You then just spend 20 grand a month, and therefore, let's say you do 20 grand a month for 5 months. So that's your 100 grand, which I mentioned earlier. Well, that's 8 grand times 5. That's that 100 grand turns into £40,000 per month in revenue. So this is what I mean, and this is very pessimistic example. Now I'll give you a real example of this. I've done it loads. I've done it with loads and loads of businesses, but the most recent one that we've done is My Fairy Pen Pal. So my wife has, our kids are 2 and 4 years old. They're coming out of intensive mode, so to speak, and so Ellie wanted to have a side hustle whilst doing looking after the kids and school runs, etc. So we set up My Fairy Pen Pal. So I do all the marketing and the business stuff, and Ellie does all the content creative and running, the ops, etc. And the funnel is really simple. Funnel is literally, we have a £15 trial, and then a client is £15 per month. And this is nothing fancy. Is literally just there's no upsell or anything. That is it. It's as simple as that. And all we did is that, I mean, it's now almost, I think it's like 10 months old, and it's already chucking about £3,000 a month profit now. And all we did, we've done a couple of campaigns, but the last main campaign that we did is that we got 1,000 trialers over here. So we just spent money on marketing. So we drove traffic to that to get 1,000 trialers, and then we wanted to figure out what is our solid conversion rate. So and obviously to begin with, the conversion rate was 50%. And I was like, something's dodgy here. Let's wait to see who converts over time. So who, obviously, some people are going to get asked for refunds and all that sort of stuff. But our solid conversion rate is 25%. So what we ended up with was 200 on the last big campaign we did. Is 250 people paying £15 a month. In fact, the net profit is £11.56 each. So 250 times £11.56. So that last campaign was 2,890 in profit per month profit. Now we already had clients before that last campaign, but when you look at the ROI, what happened? So we were quite lucky in the fact that in order to get, so our CPL was £12.50. So in order to get a £15 trialer, it only cost us £12.50 in marketing. So it cost us basically £12,500 in marketing, effectively. But then how many? We had 1,000 people, or it was actually 1,019. I didn't turn the ads off in time. So £15 came back in. So it's times 1,019. So that then came back as 15,285. Plus we got 2,890 per month. So 2,890 from that kind of times 12, 34,6. So let's just round it down. Let's just say some people peter off, but it's still 30 odd grand. Plus the 15. Let's just call it 15k. So really, we've ended up with 45k from 12.5 grand. So 45 minus 12.5. Divide that by 12.5. There we go. So that's 260% ROI. So hopefully you can understand that in business, especially when you sort of get the hang of it. Obviously, it's taken me years to freaking get the hang of it. I don't know where that Facebook comment has gone, but yeah. So this is why I do not want to just waste capital on a freaking house, because, yeah, as I said, for every £100,000 in lump sum I park in a deposit or fees or whatever, I'm losing out on anywhere between 10 to 20 grand a month revenue. Recurring rev. So for me, yeah, as I said, there's no correct answer for anyone, but for me, buying a house is stupid for our goals, etc. Because any money I'm not putting in my businesses, I'm just spunking up the wall. Hope that makes sense. Cheers.